Good evening. Good evening. My name is Obendako. I remember when we were young and I used to go to farm with my grandmother. She knew the kind of load that she wanted us to carry. Let's say when you go to farm, what you carry, and she has it in her mind, or that I want you to carry this kind of load, but she would intentionally exceed the load, and she knew that by all means we would object. We will ask for her to reduce the load. So let's say she wants you to carry maybe two two bags of let's say yam or cassava, or maybe four of them in a basket. But her intention is for you to original intention is for you to say carry two, but she will make them four. Then when you ask that Nana no man does mean to me, then she will reduce it to her original load. And so she always, she would always have a way of getting her produce to the house. She knew it. She knew the kind of young men that she had as grandchildren. And so, I'm talking about first principles approach. First principles approach. The letter I have found about life is that if you don't know it, then the results won't be. Then there will be pain, there will be lack, there will be poverty, there will be struggles, there will be all kind of things. So if you Stephen, yes, she made us go to farm, and that she had a lot of strategies. We are all working with assumptions, and the closer we are to the assumptions that we have to the truth, will decide the kind of results that we get. And so you could be, let's say I am educated, or I was schooled in, let's say, engineering, and they gave us some kind of principles. I remember when we started the first week that we were on campus, and they started to do orientations and things like that. And the first lectures, I remember some of them trying to teach something they call first principles, because to them, if you don't get the basis right, then everything else that they were going to teach you will be difficult for you, and you could not even do anything with it beyond. And so in this life, there are first principles applied to everything that we do, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your ambitions, the goals that you set for your life, the relationships. There are principles. There are first principles. The closer you get to the first principles, the more successful you become. But the far deviated you are from the first principles, that work. Because it is we'll get there. So your professional career, there are principles guiding every one of them. The company you want to build, the product you want to develop, whatever that we do in this life, even in the country or the continent that we want to build, every information that you have, the closer you are to the original source, to the truth, to the basis, the better the advantage you have in getting some kind of results. So when there is a when there is a consistent pain and struggle and deviation and things that you are not happy with, they mean that there is a bit of distance between the first principles and what you know, because all of us are working with some kind of assumptions, and I wouldn't say lack, but if you had it closer to the first principles, then your results will prove that. Your results will prove that. So sometimes we debate, sometimes we talk, and sometimes say it's an opinion, and all kind of things. But all the different approaches that people use, the essence of it is that we get to the first principles. Because without them, everything that we do, we just try to debate and talk the way we talk. But at the end of it, what really works is how close you are to that which is truth, to that which is fundamental, to that which is being tested, and which is that which has been discovered to work. So my name is Kwabena. I am talking to you briefly about what I call first principle approach. And if you don't have to you don't have to be an engineer to know this. You don't have to be a philosopher to know this. We all are using it. We are using it in our lives. We may not call it first principle, but all of us are using it. Let's say you want to buy an item. Maybe you have 3 decisions to make. You do all the pros and cons and everything, and then you choose one, hoping that one will work. Now, the closer you are to that which works will decide the mystery or the joy that you have with the decisions that or the decision, the one that you picked. And so it's not a lot of things in this life, I think, are not magic. I think a lot of things in this life are just hinge on principles. Okay, so the first principles are just axioms. They are foundations. They are something that you call truth. They are the things that are the basis, and when you master them, they are the point where you cannot break them further. And the closer you are to them, to anything that you're building, the best it will be for you. So the details, they get us to the core. So let's say you want to build, let's say, business. There are principles that people have tested that have worked to a large number of businesses. So let's say the startup lifestyle, the things that people have done. There are things that are very close to the first principles. Now, the farther you are from these principles, the farther your struggles will be. The farther the assumptions that you have from these principles, the farther the struggles and the pains and the worries and the debt and everything will be. So when we start something, we carry all kind of assumptions, but our struggles and our push and our hustle, they get us close to really the first principles. And once they become clear to you, then you see that you start to find the path to make it work. And so if you never ever come across it, to know that there is something that works across board for everybody, depending on a particular situation, and if you're not close to that thing, then it will not work for you. It's not because there are some good things with people and there are some bad things with people. Generally, I think not absolute, but generally, most people, when the closer they are to the things that work, the first state, the originality. If you're a Christian, you say that the word of God. That's the Christians who say, Stephen. The truth. The closer you are to the first principles, the more advantage you are. The better understanding you have with that which is the base for whatever that you are doing, whatever that you are thinking of. Let's say your knowledge in finance. The closer you are, the assumptions that you have, the closer you are to the first principles of how money is created based on what you're doing, will get you the results that you have. But if you have some kind of illusions which are very far from the facts that have the facts that have worked for a lot of people, then you see that you will be deviating. You hit today, tomorrow you fall. You hit today, tomorrow you fall, because we are all working with assumptions. And so these kind of principles, once you discover them, they help in problem solving. They help us to get to solutions. They help us to break complex things down. And so the first principles approach, they remove a lot of doubt and confusion. The closer you are to them, they don't go against, say, trying to improve something. They don't go against it. if you go to school, a lot of us have been told, let's say, what is it? Let's say you did mathematics, and they told you that 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 2. So all of us, we just believe that 1 + 1 is 2. So they have programmed us 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 1 is 2. Or they told you that if you mix red and green, this is the color that you get. Those are the things that a lot of people think just by just that formula. They don't go beyond it to break it. To say that, okay, if I break it to the minutest form, what else can be had from it apart from that which they told me? So let's say most people who are very much strict in their thinking never use this kind of approach, because those are the people who tell you that this is how we've been doing it, this is how they told us, and that's it. And that's why this kind of let's say individuals or companies or countries, the more you have people to think like that, they don't go beyond. I remember there was a time that I was debating with somebody, and she was that much opinionated, and I asked her, so the thing that you're saying, are you saying that it's in the Bible? She's like, oh, why are you saying that? Like, because it can be done in another way. Let's look at the approach again. Maybe this is what they have told you. There's another way that maybe it can be done. Maybe if you dig deeper, we can get another way of doing it. That is the first principle approach. And so they told you that, when you finish school, go and look for a job. And that is all that you know. Have you ever questioned anything? Because once you use that kind of approach, there is always a way that you can get to your dream. If you use that kind of approach. If you want to enhance your existing belief system, those are some of the things that you have to ask. Because a lot of things are keeping us from getting to our goals. Why? Because we don't question. We just take what they told us. What they told us. So they told you that this is the only way to become successful, and you believe it. But you have not gone to the minutest state of that statement. Because your grandmother told you, your grandfather told you. And so you said that, oh, in our family, this is how we do it. But have you questioned it? Have some people ever done it differently? Or that is the way you just know it? Because the first principle approach always goes to the closest of its original state. So they have given information, and they said that if you want to say raise children, this is how you raise the children. And so if the child misbehaves, knock the head. You don't question it to say, what is the essence of me knocking the head? Is there anything that I can do to get the same results than just knocking the head for the child to be quiet? So let's say you are in product development. They told you that, oh, if you want to develop, let's say, a leather, this is what you have to do. They told you 1 yard is 2 cedi. They told you 3 yard is 4 cedi. Now you want to create, let's say, a bag from that leather. You go to the market, it's that much expensive. Is there any other way that you can get the same bag, the same bag sewn for you, made for you, without paying that kind of amount? Can you break it down? Or you want to build a house? They have given you the budget. They have told you that this is this. So let's say they say that, okay, this plan will cost you 200 Ghana cedis or 200,000 Ghana cedis. They have given you all the components in the bill. Is there any way that you can achieve the same kind of thing that you want to do? Let's say the same kind of concrete that you want to do, without going strictly by what they have told you? Is there another way? Can you change the method? Can you change the material to reduce cost? That is the first principle approach, because most people are just straight in their thinking. So because they have told you that it's 100,000, it's 100,000. There's no other way that you want to do it. Because they have told you that it's 200,000, it's 200,000. You will not even question it further. You not ask questions, because you're just straight in the way you look at issues. No, always go deeper. Create new solutions and create new knowledge from the scratch. Always question. What makes this a bit tough is that people don't want to go against the convention. We don't really want to go against what we know. And so most people's solutions are strictly according to the training that they had. They don't think beyond. And thinking beyond, getting to the base, fighting the assumptions that they have given you that are prevent you from getting results, is really getting to the first principles. And so if they didn't teach you the first principles, or if your understanding of the first principles of whatever that you're doing are just far from the reality, you see that anytime that you try, you fail. You struggle because you're far from the truth. The truth that works, that gets you the results. So humans, our approach is relative. Maybe God is absolute, God is absolute, but we are not absolute. We all are assuming on something. And so the quality of the assumption is dependent on how close you are to the first principle. So dig deeper until you are very much left to that which works. You get to the basis. Everything that is causing frustration, everything, whether it's your business, whether it's your family, whether it's your health, whether it's the country that we are trying to build, it's like Africa, You have a lot of assumptions that are very far from the first principles. That's why we're still finding it. There are a lot of assumptions. There are a lot of huge assumptions that we have, We are trying to get IMF to help us to develop. We are trying to get the World Bank to help us to develop. We are trying to use democracy. We have used it for 50 years. It's not working. We are trying to use this kind of education that they have given us. It's working. We are trying to depend on the professors and the think tanks and the consultants. It's not working because it's far from the first principles. Very far. It is our duty to get close to see how do you build a country with this kind of condition. How do you find it? Has it ever been done? I don't know. A country like Ghana, with this kind of history, with this kind of tribes, with this kind of language, with this kind of culture, with this kind of population, with this kind of understanding, how do you develop with this kind of people? Are you just going to copy from IMF? Or are you going to copy from the UN? And all the millennium things that they set us and they keep on pushing them forward every time? Or you are going to sit down to say that, okay, this is the situation. What are the assumptions that we've been working with for the last 50 years? Are they working or they are not working? If they are not working, how close can we get to that which will work? It's an assumption that we are making, And maybe if you start to question those things, maybe we will find our own path to development. Maybe. So it's the same thing. If your business has a situation, it's the same approach. It's the same approach. They told you, they gave you information from the business school, they gave you information from the seminar, they gave you information from everywhere. Are they working? If you have applied them for 10 years and they are not working, it means that you're very far from the first principles. You're very far from the first principles. And it's a cycle to get to the core of how things work. To get to the core of how things work. Because this life, you are going to be confronted with challenges, problems every day, every minute. And we have a lot of things that we have, our own beliefs, our own biases, our own ideas that they have given us. And we are all very strong with the beliefs, with the ideas that we have. But if you're going to produce results, it's not just about the beliefs that you have. Your beliefs should be close to the first principles, or it won't work. So it's almost like the things that they have told you, and you're trying to destroy everything and trying to put them together again. And so they gave you a certain kind of information. All of us have some kind of information on something. Every one of us has some kind of information on something. Every one of us, we have some kind of information on something. What it means to live a successful life, what it means to have money, what it means to have peace, joy, what it means to marry, what it means to build a company, build a country, develop a product, what it means to dress, what it means to do whatever that they have told us we should do. Now, all those are assumptions. But after a while, if you apply all those that they told you and they are not working, it means that what they told you was very far from the first principle. So you have to go back and ask questions. Ask questions. Why is it that it's not working? What is it that we can do differently? It's always like that, constant. And that's why the countries that progress, or the companies that progress, or people who become successful in this life, they are in constant asking. Constantly, they're asking questions. They are constantly challenging the assumptions that they were given. They are constantly challenging the things that they were told. They are constantly challenging. Why are you saying we should not do it this way? Why are you saying we should do it this way? The things that they told us. Are you asking them? Because you grew up with some kind of ideas and you so much believe in them. After a while, you can see that a lot of them don't work. Not every one of them, but a lot of them don't work. Can you sit down to say that, okay, this is where we want to go? That's why they told us this. Now, can we look beyond that to get closer to that which could work? That's the first principles approach. And so, the closer we are to first principles approach, the better we can get results and solutions. Now, the farther we are, the more complex and painful and frustrating our situation becomes. Whether it's a personal life, whether it's a country, whether it's a business, whether it's a relationship, whatever it is, the more complicated, the more troublesome it is, the more we have a lot of assumptions that are farther from the very basic truth. Because there's always a part, a truth that works. And none of us is God. So none of us has the absolute truth. So it's all assumptions that we are all making. Now you are I dare to use the word lucky. You are lucky if your assumptions are close to the first principles. Then you start to get results. Then you start to see the meaning of what you're doing. And so every one of us, we all took some kind of decisions based on the kind of information that we have. That information, how far was it from the first principles? Because if they are far from it, the results won't come. So there's a way they told you that if you do this, you become successful in life. They told you that if you become this kind of profession, you'll be successful in life. They told you that if you build this kind of business, you'll be successful in life. They told you that if you live from this country to the other country, you'll be successful in life. They told you that if you dress like this, then you will get this. They told you that if you get a good husband, then every problem, all those assumptions that they told us. The closer they are to that which works, which is the first principle, the better for you. Then you can see that things make sense. Now, the farther they are from the first principles, the more woes you have in your life. That's why you can see complications everywhere. And so our continent is clear that there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot that we don't understand from the first principles. How to build the people, how to build the confidence in the people, how to value the people, how to build their identity, how to get the people to think solutions, how to get the people to be in charge of their lives, how to get the people to extract a lot of the superstition and build their character and be more robust and depend on themselves than trying to depend on another person or trying to depend on a government or trying to depend on some spirit somewhere. The more you can get the people to get close to the assumptions that are working, the better. Because so far, the assumptions that we have used, that's why all the Africans, the young men, the young women, they're always asking questions. And some of them will even say that it's because we are lazy, it's because you have bad leaders, it's because we have what? What are the usual things that they say? All the things that they say. It's because our assumptions are very far from the first principles. And one of the hardest things to tell, especially Africans and Ghanaians in particular, is for them to challenge their own assumptions. Because we are very much strongly opinionated in the things that they told us. Especially the ones that have gone to school. My God, they don't read any book, but they have a strong opinion or something that they had from nowhere. They have no facts, they have not read any material on it, but they will tell you that what they are saying is true. No research, nothing. They have very little to debate, but they will still debate. He has never read anything on it, never been taught by anybody, even if it was wrong. But he still believes that what he's saying is right. Those are Ghanaians. So, and they will continue to repeat the same kind of question all their lives. They will continue to repeat and ask you the same kind of things. But our leaders are corrupt. That's what they say. Our leaders are corrupt. Our here are this, or here are that. They are working with assumptions. Have we sat down to study the situation of Africa? Have you sat down to study the situation of our country? To say that why are we not developing? Other than the obvious answers that they are telling us every time. Bad leadership, corruption. Those are the obvious ones. Are they true? Maybe they are. But from the little that I know, I don't think they are true. I don't think the Chinese we are more corrupt than the Chinese. I don't think the Koreans are more ethical than we are. And I don't think that because somebody must create an assumption for you to play with so that they can control you. And if you're not wise, you will not get close to the first principles. Because those who have developed, let's face it, were they not corrupt? Those who owned the slaves for how long? 300 years, 400 years? If you could keep a human being and treat them like that, what is more corrupt than that? The cocaine that they sell, the ship that the cocaine is on, who owns them? But the assumption is that we've been groomed to believe that, oh, Africa is poor because of bad leadership. And you have fantastic, intelligent think tanks debate that. Maybe it's true, I don't know. But I'm just saying that maybe it's wrong. Maybe there's more to it than that. And it's the onus is on all of us to use the first principles approach to start to ask more questions. And nobody has an autonomy over the first principle. We just have to get close to it. We don't even know what it is, but we just have to get close to it because we will know it when it is more consistent in terms of producing the results that we want. It can be applied here, it can be applied there, it can be applied there. Then it's likely to be close to the truth. And so it's constant question, and that's what they do in the lab. They are always asking questions. Asking questions. Why didn't you get it? Why, if you do it this way, what will happen? If you do it this way, what will happen? Well, if you do, it's constant revelation of say, what should I say, of knowledge, constant update of knowledge, because you are getting close to that which works. So if you grew up here, there's a lot of assumptions that they have told us, and I think that a lot of them are not necessarily. A lot of them are very far from that which will help us to develop. A lot of them are just lies. Okay, but it's popular. For instance, if you listen to the radio early in the morning, maybe 80% of the radio station, what do you think they are discussing? Things that will not develop the country. Because the fact that you are informed by what happened yesterday does not mean that you know what to do to develop your country. Because the bases are not there. Then in the afternoon is what are you doing? Entertainment. Now, these are people that mosquitoes are trouble. Our healthcare system is in trouble. We still need a lot of people educated. We import a lot of food and clothes, a lot of things. Yet the people have a lot of time to use the media that can train the people, condition them to say that yes, we have to develop as a people. No. Every little time they get is comedy. Every little time we get is what? Is football. Every little time we get is what? Is politics. Every little time we get somebody's quoting Melchizedek. This is not how countries develop. This is not. So it means that we are very far from that. We are doing something, all right? Yes, we are doing it, but it will take us a very long time if you use what we are doing and the pace at which that we are going. It will take us millions of years for us to develop. And so somebody who understands first principles will tell you that, listen, if you want to develop, first you have to condition the people to think in a particular way, to take care of your own, of their own lives. And two, you have to condition the people to work and produce something with their hand and take charge of their own country, and be educated. Creativity and production, engineering, science, those are the things that have to be dominant on TV, on radio, in the newspaper, in the books. Capture everyone's mind. People start to think of coming out with a product, coming out with a system, coming out with something. Wherever they are, their mind is for the country. What can I do for my country to develop? Then we are getting close to the first principles. Because without productivity, there's no development, So there are assumptions that we have So they will tell you, oh, it's developed, it's democracy. Once you can change one government from another, it means you develop. Who told you? We have done it for maybe 60 years or so. Have we? Have not. Because it's very far from it. So the same, it applies to the family. It applies to the family. What are the first principles you know on how to raise a family? Is it you just shouting and insulting? Or is you respecting and being honest and being kind? What is it? What is the assumption? What is assumption? What is assumption of, let's say, what is it? Other things like finance, same. Our assumption on finance, if it's far from the first principles, we will struggle. We will live in poverty, no matter how much revenue or no matter how much salary we get. So you are fortunate if your assumptions, which are close to the first principles, because the first principles are the ones that are repetitive. They can produce results, and they're close to the truth that works. So it's not that somebody else is intelligent and somebody else is bad. No, it's not like that. Somebody else has found a way of getting to that which works, which is close to the first principles. That's why you're working. And so if somebody else built a business, part of it is because the person had a better, assumption than yours. That's why the person has been able to build something. It's not because the person was so much intelligent, so to say. You understood something and you work with it, and you started to discover and got close to that which works. So he has eyes to study, to monitor, to see what is. They study the trend to see what is working where. That's why it's working. It's not because the people who don't get theirs to work. It's not because there is a demon somewhere, like the way they have made us to believe. They have made us to believe that everything is demonic, is satanic, is spiritual, a lot of things. And that's why we're still very far, because it's not close to the first principles. So if you don't remember anything at all, what I'm talking about is that there's something they call first principles, and it's the basis of anything. And so anything that you mention, there are first principles in that. It's not only just in engineering or just in philosophy or in psychology. No, there are first principles in everything. Whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's computer science, whether it's business, whether it's friendship, everything. There are bases. So the moment you get the basis, or your assumptions get close to the basis, then you are likely to have results. Now, one of the things that will prove that you are very far from the first principles approach is when you have consistent failure and frustration and pain. Consistent. Very long time. No results. It means that your assumptions are wrong, and they are very far from that which works. So it's so it that's how it is. That's how it is. So the constant pain, constant lack, constant underdevelopment shows that there's something that these guys don't know. Constant. And as a matter of fact, when you're far from the first principles, you don't become better. You don't become better. You become weak. You become controlled. You become limited. You don't become better, even though you continue to do it. It's still, you're still being weakened. The closer you are to the first principles, to the things, to the basics, to the fundamentals, you see that you build momentum, you build strength. It means that what you're doing can produce results. So there's a lot, but where we are, there's not much thinking, there's not much analysis, there's not much scientific approach, there's not much philosophical approach to situations. People are always trying to find an excuse to interpretation that are very obvious to us, that maybe the knowledge we've been running has not been the truth. Like somebody said, one of the obvious things that they keep telling us is that, slavery. But we sold our own people. We sold. We were stupid. We sold our own people. And so what? And so the average person, that's the kind of information that he has. They sold our own people. We sold our own people. We sold our own people. We sold our own people. How could we? We came with a ship with the chains on them to sell our own people. What they did was genocide. They carry over 60 million people in a time of, let's say, 300 years or 400 years from one continent. It's not only the people you are carrying. You carry the diamonds, the gold, everything. And you say that you cared for them. Then after all these years, you didn't build anything for them. Nothing. You took all this. And when they had independence, they still had to build everything themselves. But the one who's ignorant, who's not read any material, who's virtually was not even told any history, we just assume that yes, it's right. They sold their own people, so they were stupid. Some of them will even tell you that if they put ship here, their people will still go. Of course they will go, because then what do they know? Have we counteracted, or have we proposed another information to what the lies that they told us? No. You go to university, what did they tell you? It's still slavery and colonization, and they told you that Gorgeous Bear came to save you, and something way back force told you. Now, what do you think? Somebody colonized your people, enslave them, and you think that they are going to tell you the right history? It's amazing. How would they tell you the right history? No, they have to continue to tell you the lies so that they can continue to dominate you and show you all the nice pictures. So some stupid boy somewhere they tell you that it was a choice. Amazing. It's a choice. Not to be educated, not to have access to land. It was a choice for us to be given a democratic system or system of government that does not work. It's not working. Don't you see it? They change it every 4 years. Spend millions to change a government, and the people don't have money. I thought if you didn't have money, then change the government 8 years or 16 years. Those who are practicing democracy, they stay longer than the poor. They told you that practice democracy. Every 4 years you have to change them. The job is so hard that it's very tough for you to have an intelligent man to rule you for a very long time. Okay, so if you happen to have one guy who is very intelligent, let him rule for a while, at least, to find it, because it's not a simple job. It's very tough for somebody to have all these talents to become a president, to develop a country. It's very tough. You may not have you may not have more than 2 people in a generation who can develop a country. So if you happen to have one, why do you change them? Then you bring another one who come and destroy everything that you did. I don't get it. It's very far from the first principles approach. So they told you that once you change them 4 years, you're democratic. But what is the essence of democracy if your people still continue to live in abject poverty? What's the essence? But how do we question that? Because we went to Legon. They gave us the same kind of information. They told us not to question anything. And we educated, masters, PhD. And our people still live in abject poverty. And we still look up to IMF and all these people. First principles approach will tell you, is it working? If it's not working, what are the questions? Do you have the confidence to ask? What is not working? So there's a lot that Africans must ask. So the same with the personal life. You have 40 years, you look at your life, a lot of things don't add up. And you still hold on to your personal beliefs. And these beliefs that have ended you this state. You still hold on. No. Continue to ask yourself, what is it that I don't know? What is it that I don't know? And who can teach me? Where can I learn it from? And don't just say that I'm a free star. This is my life. It's not your life. It's just your life is only reflecting your assumptions, So my assumptions are reflecting the things that I have, my persuasion, the results that I have, the peace that I enjoy. Now, those are my assumptions. The closer the assumptions are to the first principles, the better the results that I will have. So it's tough, but that's life. So all of us are walking with some kind of assumptions. You are 30 years, you have married 4. It means that your assumptions are very far from that which works. If you want to do the 5th one, you just have to go and learn how it works. You're building business. You know that you have character problem. Don't tell the truth. You lie all the time. There's, people are just, nobody can trust your word. There are troubles everywhere. It means that your assumption of how a business can be done It's wrong. It's far from the first principles. Very far. So and nobody was really born to have the wrong assumptions all their lives. Just because you were told, somebody persuaded you, or somebody, or, you pick something somewhere, and if it's not working, you can just leave it and say that it's not working. So every human has some kind of assumption. Nobody is absolute. You are only fortunate if your assumptions happen to be very close to the first principles. Then you're lucky. So the first principles are the things that are the foundations of that which work. So you want to break things down, get close to that which works, and the closer you are to that which works, that's what you can see the results. You can see the results. So they help us to break a lot of problems down, get better solutions, and they help us to become productive in what we do. And if you get them right, they can set you apart on a very on a scale that you can see growth and expansion and development. So if you're very far from the first principles, that's why you continue to struggle, and your wisdom is not increasing. Some people, their wisdom never increase. Their wisdom is always stagnant. So they tell them, you met them 20 years ago, they're still the way they're still the same stubborn people, they're still the same, they talk the same, their visions are the same. Your life cannot improve that way. Your life cannot improve that way. And so there's a lot of assumptions that they have told us on finances. If you want to go to finance, we can say there are a lot of assumptions that they have told us on finance, and they're very far from the first principles. The people who have a lot of money, they are very close to the first principles of how to create wealth and how to create finances. That's why they have it. The ones who are very far from it, because their assumptions are very far from the first principles. So you see, the rich man, for instance, if he wants to create money, he knows that money is not created by just salary. He knows that if he has an idea and he can build a system around it and let people have that, whether it's a product or service, and how many people that he can spread those things to, and if he spends his time to work on it, develop it, and he can bring more solutions to people, he can create a lot of wealth. That's the richest, that's what they believe. Now, to the average person, his belief is what? Just get a job and go to school, and then you'll be rich. It's not part. You can build a house and a car, that's all, but you cannot create wealth, because the first principles of creating wealth is very far. The data does not support that, it. The people who control a lot of wealth, the data supports that they solve a lot of problems, serious problems for many people. That's why they get money. They build business and investments around them. And so if you came from a poor background, so your assumption is that, if I go to school and become a lawyer, I'll be very rich. Go to the court. You see the lawyers, if they are rich, you'll know. So there are assumptions about relationships. There are assumptions about career and development. There are assumptions about how to build a company. There are assumptions about a lot of things. We are all working with assumptions. You would want to work on how close you get to the truth in those various items or situations. So the more you are close to the truth, to the first principles approach in that, the better you will be equipped to get results. So the first principles approach, just be aware of it, that there's something like that. And it's not that if you're doing something and it doesn't work, it does not mean that you're evil. It just means that your assumptions are very far from reality. Your assumptions are very far from the truth. And anywhere that you see that they perpetually go through strain and stress and pain and struggle all their lives, and they don't change in their thought, you can know that they're very far from the first principles. Okay, so we all have to get to work and read and know that the people who have done it, this is it, based on this situation, this is how they were. And you can always come up with a better approach if you understand this, because you are always asking questions. Never stop asking questions. Never. Don't let them tell you that this is our tradition and this is how we do it. If it's within your domain, do it. Because you get old. The time will come. You'll be 60 years, you'll be 70 years. Better get productive now. Because that time will come. That time will come. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Kwabena. Thank you very much for watching.